the rain-slicked bus lurched to a halt on the edge of Portland's fog-draped streets, its doors hissing open like a sigh long held back. Evelyn Harper clutched her worn leather satchel tighter, her knuckles whitening against the chill that seeped through her coat, but it was not the November dampness that made her breath catch. It was the woman staggering aboard, one arm cradling a swollen belly, the other gripping the hand of a wide-eyed girl no older than 5, their faces pale as the underbelly of storm clouds. In that instant, as their eyes met across the crowded aisle, hers pleading, Evelyn's fracturing open with a memory she had buried deep. The seat beneath her suddenly felt like a throne she no longer deserved, and she rose without a word, offering it like a fragile bridge over the abyss of her own unraveling heart. Evelyn had always been the one to yield, to fold her edges smooth for the world's sharp corners. 35 years in the Pacific Northwest had carved that into her bones, the relentless rain teaching her to bend like the ferns that carpeted the Columbia Gorge, the endless gray skies whispering that light was a fleeting guest, not a resident. She lived in a narrow Victorian row house on Alberta Street, its gingerbread trim peeling like old regrets, filled with books whose spines she traced more than read, stories of women who loved fiercely and lost everything, much like the pages of her own half-written life. Her days blurred in the dim hum of the public library where she worked as a reference archivist, shelving forgotten histories while her own gathered dust on the shelves of memory. That morning, as the bus rattled toward downtown, Evelyn replayed the fragments of her fracture like a film reel stuck on loop. 5 years ago, in the sun-dappled warmth of a Seattle summer, before Portland's embrace, she had held Lila's hand under the canopy of madrona trees, their branches twisting like lovers' limbs. Lila, with her laugh like wind chimes and eyes the color of Puget Sound at dawn, had been her anchor, her wild sea. They had dreamed of a life stitched from quiet joys. A garden choked with lavender, weekend hikes along the Hoh rainforest trails, perhaps even the soft chaos of children one day, adopted or imagined, their family a mosaic pieced from 2 broken artists' souls. Evelyn, the steady one, had sketched blueprints for it all, nursery walls painted in soft sage, lullabies borrowed from folk records spinning on lazy afternoons. But dreams dissolve like mist in the mountain wind. Lila's cancer came swift as a Pacific squall, eroding her from the inside out, leaving Evelyn adrift in a hospital room that smelled of antiseptic and wilted hope. The last words Lila whispered, her voice a threadbare veil, were not of forever but of release. "Let go, Eve. For both of us." Evelyn had nodded then, her throat a knot of unshed tears, but letting go was a lie she told herself each dawn when the bed felt vast as the Salish Sea. She had scattered Lila's ashes along the Oregon coast, where the waves gnawed at basalt cliffs, watching the gray grains mingle with foam, a ritual that should have freed her but only etched the wound deeper. Grief, she learned, was not a wave to crest and recede. It was the riverbed itself carving canyons through the soul. Now on this ordinary Thursday, the bus's fluorescent lights buzzed like distant fireflies, casting harsh shadows on the faces around her. Evelyn stood swaying with the vehicle's rhythm, her hand gripping the overhead rail, fingers numb from more than cold. The woman she had yielded to June, she would later learn, sank into the seat with a gratitude that bloomed in her eyes like dawn breaking over Mount Hood. June was perhaps Evelyn's age, mid-30s, her dark curls matted from the rain, her olive skin stretched taut over high cheekbones that spoke of southern roots, maybe Carolina lowcountry. She wore a threadbare denim jacket over a dress that strained against her pregnancy, and beside her the little girl Harper, with braids like twisted vines and eyes the color of river clay, clung to her mother's knee, thumb in mouth, staring up at Evelyn with a curiosity that pierced like sunlight through fog. "Thank you," June murmured, her voice carrying the soft drawl of magnolia summers, a sound so foreign to Portland's clipped cadence that it wrapped around Evelyn's heart like Spanish moss. "I didn't think. Well, folks don't always notice anymore." Evelyn managed a smile, faint as the sliver of moon peeking through the clouds outside. "Everyone needs a moment to breathe." She glanced at Harper, who had pulled her thumb free and now offered a shy wave, her tiny fingers fluttering like maple leaves in autumn breeze. Something stirred in Evelyn then, a flicker, not quite warmth but the ghost of it, reminding her of the empty room upstairs, the crib she had never assembled, the life unlived. The bus groaned to a stop at the library's corner, and Evelyn gathered her things, stepping into the drizzle that beaded on her lashes like unshed tears. She walked the 3 blocks to work, the city's mosaic unfolding around her. Artisanal coffee shops spilling steam into the air, murals of fierce women splashed across brick walls, the distant hum of the Willamette River carrying secrets from upstream. By the time she reached the library's oak-paneled doors, the encounter lingered like the scent of wet earth after rain, a small act unremarkable, yet it tugged at the frayed hem of her isolation. Inside, the archive's hush enveloped her, shelves rising like ancient redwoods, heavy with the weight of stories preserved. Evelyn settled at her desk, surrounded by microfiche readers and leather-bound ledgers, but her mind wandered back to the bus. She pulled a worn notebook from her satchel, its pages filled with half-formed poems, odes to lost light, elegies to hands no longer held. Today she sketched a new line. In the yield a seed takes root. It felt trite yet true, a whisper against the vast silence of her days. Mid-morning brought the usual rhythm. Patrons seeking genealogies that bridged generations, students unearthing forgotten scandals for term papers. Evelyn moved through it all with practiced grace, her voice steady as she guided a young man through census records, her fingers deft on the keyboard. But beneath the routine, the morning's kindness echoed. A pebble dropped into still water, rippling outward. She wondered about June, where she was headed in such haste, what burdens bowed her shoulders so low. Portland was a city of transplants, each carrying invisible maps of elsewhere. The tech wanderers from Silicon Valley, the artists fleeing New York's grind, the families chasing reinvention amid the evergreens. Lunch came with a thermos of chamomile tea and a view of the courtyard, where maples shed crimson leaves like confetti from a somber parade. Evelyn ate her apple slowly, watching a pair of sparrows skirmish over crumbs, their wings a blur of defiance. She thought of Lila then, how they had fed ducks by the waterfront, laughing as bread bits vanished into the murk. "Life's too short for grudges," Lila had said once, her head on Evelyn's shoulder, the sun gilding their skin. "Give what you can when you can." Evelyn had clung to that, even as the giving hollowed her out. Afternoon waned into queries about local lore, the haunted history of the Pittock Mansion, the underground jazz dens of old Chinatown. Evelyn answered with the precision of a cartographer, mapping others' pasts while her own blurred at the edges. As closing neared, she lingered in the rare books room, trailing her fingers over a volume of Emily Dickinson. The poet's dashes like breaths caught mid-grief. The soul has bandaged moments. The words resonated, a balm for the bruise she carried. Stepping out into twilight, the city lights flickered on like hesitant stars, reflecting in puddles that mirrored the bruised sky. Evelyn's route home skirted the Pearl District, where galleries glowed with canvases of abstract longing, but she veered toward the river instead, drawn by the water's murmur. The steel bridge arched overhead, its trusses etched against the deepening blue, and she paused on the pedestrian path, leaning against the rail. Below, the current swirled lazy eddies, carrying leaves southward toward the sea. It was there, amid the hush of dusk, that she saw them again, June and Harper, huddled on a bench by the esplanade, the little girl's head pillowed on her mother's lap. June's hand stroked the child's braids in slow rhythmic arcs, but her face, oh her face, was a map of exhaustion, eyes distant as horizons. Evelyn's feet moved before her mind caught up, carrying her across the damp grass, her heart a drumbeat against her ribs. "Evening," she said softly, stopping a respectful distance away. "You both made it through the rain." June looked up, surprise softening her features, then a weary smile curved her lips. "We did. Thanks to kind strangers." She shifted Harper gently, who stirred and blinked up with sleepy wonder. Evelyn crouched to the girl's level, her coat pooling around her like fallen petals. "Hey there."
"I'm Evelyn."
"What's your name?" "Harper," the child whispered, her voice a ripple on still pond. "Like the books." June chuckled, a sound rich as river loam. "She's got away with words already. I'm June. From Asheville originally, chasing dreams out west, or so I thought." They talked then, words weaving like vines in the fading light. June's journey from North Carolina's Blue Ridges to Portland's green haze, her freelance graphic design gigs drying up with the economy, the baby due in weeks with no safety net. Evelyn listened, the river's song underscoring the tale, her own losses hovering unspoken but present, like shadows at the water's edge. "People pass by without seeing," June said at last, her gaze on the horizon. "But you saw." Evelyn swallowed the lump in her throat, the weight of that simple truth. Sometimes seeing is the start. She reached into her satchel, pulling a card for the library's community resources. Food pantries, prenatal clinics, a women's shelter veiled as a co-op. If you need a map, I'm there most days. June took it, her fingers brushing Evelyn's in a touch that lingered like dew on grass. Thank you, Evelyn. Truly. As they parted, Harper waving once more from her mother's arms, Evelyn walked home under street lamps that haloed the mist, the card's echo in her palm a talisman. That night in her quiet house, she lit a candle beeswax, flickering like captured starlight, and poured a glass of Pinot Noir, its ruby depths mirroring the ache she named for the first time. Loneliness, not as enemy but as invitation. Sleep came fitful dreams tangled with bus seats and river bends, the faces of strangers blooming into something perilously close to kin. Days blurred into weeks, the yield on the bus becoming a thread in the fabric of Evelyn's routine. She scanned the crowds for June's curls, listened for Harper's giggle amid the library's murmur, but saw no sign. Portland's winter deepened, frost etching filigree on window panes, the air crisp with pine and possibility. Evelyn threw herself into work, curating an exhibit on women's suffrage in the Northwest, letters from suffragettes who marched through mud for votes, photographs of gatherings under gaslight, their eyes fierce as winter hawks. It stirred her, this archive of resilience, reminding her that history was not linear but layered, wounds woven into triumphs. One sleety afternoon, as snow dusted the evergreens like powdered sugar, the library doors swung open with a gust that carried June inside. Harper bundled in a too-big parka, her cheeks rosy as rose hips. "We found you," June said, breath clouding the air, a tentative smile breaking through. Harper insisted on the books. Evelyn's heart lifted. A bird startled from underbrush. She led them to the children's wing, where low shelves brimmed with tales of brave girls and hidden worlds. Harper dove in, fingers trailing spines like old friends, while June and Evelyn settled on beanbag cushions, the space a cocoon of soft light and whispered stories. Over hot cider from the staff kettle, steam rising like morning fog, June unfolded more of her tapestry. A childhood in the shadow of the Blue Ridge Mountains, summers picking blackberries till hands stained purple, a marriage that crumbled like dry clay under the weight of unmet dreams. Her ex, a musician more in love with the road than home, had vanished east, leaving her adrift. The pregnancy, unplanned but fiercely wanted, was her anchor now, a life kicking against the confines of uncertainty. "I thought Portland would be rebirth," June confessed, staring into her cup as if divining futures. "But it's just another shade of gray." Evelyn nodded, the words echoing her own relocation from Seattle, the flight from ghosts. Gray has its graces, teaches you to seek the light in small things, like cider on a storm day, or a child's laugh echoing off walls. Harper toddled over then, book in hand, a picture story of a fox seeking shelter in winter woods. "Read," she pleaded, climbing into Evelyn's lap without hesitation, her warmth seeping through layers like sunlight through canopy. Evelyn's voice trembled at first, then steadied, weaving the tale with inflections that painted the air. The fox's paws crunching frost, the burrow's glow from hearthfire kin. June watched, her eyes softening, a bridge forming in the space between them, fragile yet spanning chasms. They lingered till closing, the library emptying like a theater after final curtain. Outside, snowflakes danced in the lamplight, blanketing the world in hush. "Walk with us," June asked, and Evelyn did, their boots marking trails in the fresh powder, Harper between them, mittened hand in each. The path led to a nearby park, where bare branches etched lace against the indigo sky, and they settled on a bench, sharing silences broken by Harper's questions. "Why do stars hide? Do foxes dream of summer?" Evelyn answered with truths wrapped in wonder, her words a lantern against the cold. As night deepened, June's hand found Evelyn's in the dark, a squeeze of solidarity, not demand. "You've given more than a seat today," she said quietly. "You've given space." Evelyn's throat tightened, Lila's memory flickering like bioluminescence in deep waters. Grief not erased but shared lightened. They parted at June's bus stop, promises of cocoa dates exchanged like seeds in fertile soil. Back home, Evelyn built a fire in the grate, flames leaping like joyful spirits, casting shadows that danced across walls adorned with Lila's watercolors, abstract seas in turquoise and indigo. She wrote that night, pages filling with the day's grace, the weight of a child's trust, the timbre of a stranger's story. Sleep claimed her gently, dreams of snow-covered paths leading not to endings, but to horizons wide as hope. Winter's grip loosened in fits and starts, crocuses pushing through frozen earth like defiant prayers, the willamette swelling with meltwater's song. Evelyn and June's meetings wove into pattern, library story hours where Harper reigned as tiny queen, walks along the waterfront where gulls wheeled overhead like punctuation to their conversations, evenings at Evelyn's where soup simmered on the stove, filling the air with time and memory. June's belly rounded further, a moon rising under her sweaters, and with it came vulnerabilities laid bare. One night, over chamomile and mismatched mugs, she spoke of fear. The baby's father, a ghost from a one-night harbor in Charleston. The specter of single motherhood in a city that prized reinvention over roots. "I want to be enough," she whispered, tears tracing paths like rain on window glass. "But what if I'm not?" Evelyn reached across the table, her hand covering June's, calluses from shelving books meeting the artist's ink-stained grace. "Enough isn't a measure. It's a becoming." She shared then, haltingly, of Lila, of love that burned bright and brief, of the hollow that followed, the fear that her heart had fossilized. "Grief taught me to hold loosely. But you're reminding me how to hold again." Harper, curled on the rug with a puzzle of woodland creatures, looked up with solemn eyes. "Miss Eve holds good. Like Mama." The words landed soft as snowfall, melting barriers Evelyn hadn't known she built. In those months their triad bloomed. Picnics in Laurelhurst Park where cherry blossoms rained petals like confetti, ferry rides across the river with wind-whipping braids and laughter-free, quiet nights where June sketched portraits, Evelyn's profile against firelight, Harper's curls haloed in dawn. Yet shadows lingered. Evelyn woke some mornings to the echo of Lila's voice in empty rooms, the bed's chill a reminder of fractures unhealed. She journaled them out, words like rivers carving stone. Love does not replace, it expands. June, too, carried tempests, nights when contractions teased early, or doubts swelled like thunderheads. They navigated together, hands linked across divides, learning the language of lean-ins and listening. Spring unfurled in riot, rhododendrons exploding pink along the streets, the air thick with lilac and possibility. Harper's questions grew bolder. "Why do leaves fall? Can we plant a garden?" And Evelyn's backyard, long fallow, stirred to life under small hands and shared shovels. They sowed peas and marigolds, the soil dark and promising, a metaphor Evelyn traced in her notebook. Roots delving deep, blooms turning faces to sun. One golden afternoon, as they knelt amid the furrows, June paused, hand on her belly, her face alight with wonder. "She's moving. Like she's dancing to the birdsong." She guided Evelyn's palm to the curve, and there it was, a flutter insistent as heartbeat, a life asserting itself against the world's vast quiet. Evelyn's breath hitched, tears blurring the green world. It was not replacement but resonance. A chord struck in the instrument of her soul, harmonizing with the losses. "She's fierce," she murmured. "Like her mother." June's eyes met hers, depths of gratitude and something deeper unnamed. "Like all of us." That evening as Harper slumbered upstairs in the guest room, her first sleepover, dolls tucked like sentinels, June and Evelyn sat on the porch, stars pricking the velvet sky. The air hummed with crickets' chorus, fireflies winking like secrets. "I came here running," June admitted, voice low, "from a life that didn't fit. But now, this feels like home." Evelyn sipped her tea, steam curling like thoughts unspoken. "Home isn't a place. It's the people who see you whole." She thought of the bus that day, the seat yielded as if by fate's gentle hand, leading to this, not erasure of pain, but its transmutation into something tender, alive. Their fingers intertwined on the rail, a quiet vow amid the night-blooming jasmine. No grand declarations, just the steady rhythm of breath shared, hearts sinking like tides to moon. In that space Evelyn felt the first true thaw, the ice of isolation cracking, rivulets of warmth seeping through. Summer crept in on bare feet, the city shedding its chill for sun-soaked languor. Portland pulsed with festivals, food carts belching savory smoke, music drifting from riverside stages, the air alive with basil and grilled corn. Evelyn, June, and Harper wove through it all, a constellation in motion, ice cream melting on chins, feet dangling from dock edges, watching barges glide like lazy dreams. But joy's undercurrent carried undercurrents. June's due date loomed like a summer storm, and with it Evelyn's old fears resurfaced. The terror of attachment, the blade of loss honed sharp by time. She confided in a letter to Lila, slipped into the garden soil like an offering. She's teaching me to love without clutching. Forgive me for moving forward. It's you I carry still. The birth came on a humid July dawn, lightning stitching the horizon as June labored in the birthing center overlooking Forest Park. Evelyn paced the waiting room, Harper asleep on her lap, the child's trust at anchor amid the storm. Hours stretched like taffy, then a cry rent the air raw triumphant, the first note of a new symphony. They named her Willow, for the trees that bent but never broke along the sandy river. Evelyn held her first, the bundle warm and wriggling, eyes slitted against the light like secrets yet to unfold. June, spent and radiant, watched with tears glazing her gaze. She's ours, she whispered. And in that word, Evelyn's world tilted, realigning to include this miracle, this expansion. The days that followed were a blur of feedings and folds, Willow's cries a lullaby in minor key. Evelyn took leave from the library, her home transforming into nest. Bassinet by the window where morning light filtered through lace, bottles warming on the stove like potions of sustenance. Harper, ever the big sister, cooed instructions, soft Eve like feathers, her role a bridge between worlds. Nights were hardest when exhaustion etched lines deeper, and doubts whispered in the dark. June, nursing Willow in the rocker, would find Evelyn staring out at the moon-silvered yard, lost in reverie. "Talk to me," she'd say, and Evelyn would, unspooling threads of grief. The nursery in Seattle empty as a paused breath, the way Lila's absence echoed in every milestone unlived. One such midnight, as thunder rumbled distant, June set Willow down and drew Evelyn close on the couch, their bodies fitting like puzzle edges worn smooth. "Your pain doesn't diminish this," she murmured, lips brushing temple. "It deepens it. We're building on holy ground. Yours, mine, Lila's." Evelyn wept then, silent rivers carving fresh paths, June's arms the banks that held her steady. In that embrace forgiveness flowered. Not absolution from loss, but permission to grieve and grow entwined. Dawn broke clear, birdsong a fanfare, and they rose renewed, Willow's gurgles the punctuation to their pact. Fall returned in amber waves, leaves carpeting paths like embroidered rugs. Willow's first smiles cracked open rooms, her coos a language of pure light. The garden they planted thrived, peas climbing trellises, marigolds guarding against blight, a testament to tending what blooms from yield. Evelyn resumed work part-time, the library a sanctuary where stories mirrored her own. Women who mothered beyond blood, loves that transcended form. Patrons noticed the change, the softness in her step, the way her eyes held stories anew. June freelanced from home, designs blooming on screen like digital wildflowers, her art infused with the hues of new motherhood. Soft indigos of twilight feeds, golds of Harper's laughter. Weekends were rituals. Hikes in the gorge where waterfalls plunged like silver veins, Willow strapped to June's chest, Harper's hand in Evelyn's, their voices mingling with wind. At Multnomah Falls, mist-veiling faces, Evelyn paused, the roar a mirror to inner tumult quelled. "This is redemption," she said to the spray, and June beside her nodded, understanding without words. Yet healing's path wound uneven. A doctor's visit revealed Willow's murmur, a heart's soft stutter, treatable but sobering, stirring Evelyn's terrors anew. In the sterile office, as monitors beeped like hesitant metronomes, she gripped June's hand, knuckles bone-white. "I can't lose another," she breathed. June turned, eyes steady as oak. "You won't. We're in this, all of us, flaws and fierce loves." They faced it together. Appointments woven into routines, specialists' words translated into plans, Willow's giggles the defiant counterpoint. Through it their bond deepened, roots delving past surface soil. Evenings found them on the porch, Willow drowsing in a swing, Harper sketching beside, as Evelyn and June traded dreams. A bigger home perhaps, near the coast, travels to Asheville's ridges blending worlds. Touches lingered, fingers tracing jawlines, shoulders brushing in kitchen dance. Affection's quiet evolution, romantic in its restraint, profound in its presence. Thanksgiving dawned crisp, the house redolent of sage and cranberry. They gathered with library colleagues in June's online circle, a motley kin of chosen family, tables groaning under pies and tales. Harper led grace, her words tumbling earnest. Thanks for seats given, for babies born under stars, for loves that mended like quilt patches. As snow dusted the windows that night, Evelyn and June tucked children in. Their steps synced in hallway hush. In bed under quilts stitched from memories they lay entwined, breaths a duet. "You've given me a life I didn't dare dream," Evelyn whispered, lips to pulse point. June smiled into darkness. "And you me. A love that holds all our lights." Winter's solstice approached, the longest night yielding to dawn's promise. Evelyn, tracing constellations on June's skin, felt the arc complete. From fracture to fullness, a woman's heart reborn not despite scars, but through them. The frost clung to the evergreens like a lover's reluctant farewell, but inside Evelyn's heart, the cold had taken deeper root, a perennial winter that no Portland spring could fully thaw. It had been 6 months since Willow's murmur was deemed a watchful echo rather than a dirge treatment, simple outcomes bright. But the scare had unearthed old graves, dredging up the silt of losses long interred. Lila's absence, once a steady ache, now flared like untreated embers, reminding Evelyn that love's ledger balanced precariously between gift and grief. She moved through mornings on autopilot, brewing coffee strong as resolve, packing lunches with notes for Harper. "Remember, you're braver than the bear in your book," kissing Willow's downy head before the daycare drop-off. June, ever the morning light, would hum folk tunes from her Carolina girlhood, her voice weaving warmth through the kitchen chaos. Yet Evelyn caught herself in mirrors, seeing the hollows beneath eyes, the way her smiles curved but rarely reached depths. One overcast Tuesday, as rain pattered like impatient fingers on the roof, Evelyn arrived at the library early, seeking solace in the stacks. She pulled a volume from the poetry shelf, Mary Oliver's collected works, pages dog-eared from Lila's touch, and sank into a reading nook, the words a balm. "You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting." Tears welled unbidden, spilling onto lines that spoke of wild geese calling in the family of things. Was this her call? To loosen the knots of self-reproach, to claim the wild in her blood? The day unfolded in fragments. Assisting a genealogy seeker whose tree branched into revelations of hidden kin, recommending memoirs of queer pioneers to a wide-eyed teen, shelving returns with mechanical precision. But midway through, as she balanced a cart of heavy tomes, a wave crashed, nausea sharp as shattered glass, vision tunneling to pinpricks. She gripped the cart's edge, breath ragged, the world tilting like a storm-tossed deck. Colleagues found her slumped against philosophy, face ashen. "Evelyn? Talk to us." They guided her to the break room, chamomile steaming, questions soft but insistent. She waved them off with lies of low blood sugar. But inside, the truth roiled. Burnout? Yes, but deeper, the terror of impermanence, the fear that her mended heart might crack under love's weight. Home that evening, June sensed the fracture immediately. The way Evelyn hung her coat with deliberate slowness, avoided eye contact over dinner. Harper chattered of school art, Willow babbled consonant strings, but the air thickened with unspoken storm. After bedtime rituals, stories of moonlit adventures, tucks with whispered dreams, June drew Evelyn to the living room, fire crackling like hesitant confessions. "Out with it," June said, settling on the rug, knees drawn up, her gaze a gentle inquisition. Evelyn paced, words tumbling like loose stones. The library collapse, the resurgence of Lila's shadow, the dread that Willow's health scare had awakened. What if she failed them? What if love, this fragile bloom, withered under her care? "I'm not enough," she choked, sinking beside June, head in hands. "I gave up a seat once and it led here. But what if I'm just borrowing time?" June pulled her close, arms a harbor against the gale. "Borrowing? Eve, this is yours, ours. You've poured light into our cracks. That's not failure, that's alchemy." She spoke of her own abysses, the Asheville nights after her ex left, belly empty of more than food, wondering if motherhood was curse or crown. "We don't have to be flawless, just present. And you are more than you know." They sat long into night, fire dying to embers, Evelyn's sobs ebbing to sniffles, June's stories a lifeline tossed across the dark. Forgiveness began there, tentative as first frost melt, not erasing scars but honoring them as maps to mercy. The week that followed was a deliberate unraveling. Evelyn taking sick days, curling under quilts with Willow's weight a grounding stone, Harper's drawings taped like talismans to walls. June orchestrated gentleness. Walks in Washington Park where camellias burst defiant red, herbal teas steeped in lavender from their garden, evenings where they journaled side by side, pens scratching symphonies of soul. One afternoon in the rose garden's hush, Evelyn voiced the core wound. Lila wanted me to let go. But holding you all, it feels like betrayal. June knelt amid petals, cupping Evelyn's face. It's evolution, not erasure. She lives in how you love, fears free. Let that be the bridge. Words like seeds planted deep. That night, Evelyn burned a letter to Lila in the backyard fire pit. Pages of gratitude for lessons learned, permissions granted. Watching flames devour ink, ashes rising like released birds. Dawn brought clarity, crisp as new snow. Healing was not linear ascent, but spiral dance, circling closer to wholeness. Yet the unraveling peaked in quiet rebellion. Harper, sensing the shift, grew clingy. Tantrums flaring like summer dry lightning over small denials. Willow fussed through nights, her cries a mirror to Evelyn's unrest. June juggling designs and daycare runs, frayed at edges, her patience thinning to thread. It culminated on a wind-whipped Saturday, market bags forgotten in the car as they argued in the kitchen. Evelyn accusing June of overmothering, June retorting Evelyn's withdrawal as wall-building. Words sharpened to blades. You act like my grief poisons us. And you act like mine doesn't exist. Harper, eavesdropping from stairs, burst in wailing, Willow startling awake upstairs. The house, once haven, echoed with discord. A symphony gone sour. Evelyn fled to the garden. Rain mingling with tears, kneeling in mud where marigolds bowed broken. What have I sown? She thought, hands clutching earth, the yield of that bus seat now teetering on abyss. June found her there, silhouette against storm, and knelt to mud-staining knees. I'm sorry, she breathed, voice cracking. We're both scared of breaking what we've built. Evelyn looked up, rain tracing rivers down cheeks. I don't know how to hold without crushing. Then let's learn together. No solos. They embraced in the deluge, children calling from the door, the storm a baptism of sorts, washing away illusions of perfection, revealing the raw beauty of flawed union. Rebuilding began humbly. Family therapy sessions in a sunlit office overlooking the river, where a counselor with silver-streaked hair guided them through labyrinths of loss. Evelyn spoke of Lila's final days, voice steadying with each retelling. June unpacked her father's abandonment, the Carolina clay that clung to her fears. Harper drew pictures of happy houses. Willow's gurgles, the underscore to tears, turned to talk. Saturdays became sanctuary. No plans, just presence. Pancakes sticky with maple, forts from blankets and books, dances in living room where records spun Joan Baez's anthems. Evelyn found rhythm in release, journaling not just pain but praises. Willow's first tooth, a pearl and gummy smile. Harper's poem recited shy, words tumbling like autumn leaves. One evening, as dusk painted the sky in bruised purples, they drove to the coast, seaside's wide sands, waves crashing like applause. Willow napped in carrier, Harper chased foam with yelps of joy. Evelyn and June walked hand in hand, Pacific's breath salt on lips. This is the spill, June said, gesturing to scattered shells. Beauty in breakage. Evelyn picked a whelk, its spiral scarred yet whole. Like us. They buried it at tide's edge, a ritual of release, then turned inland, toward home, toward each other. Winter thawed into tentative spring, the argument's echo fading to footnote. Evelyn returned to work invigorated, curating a display on resilience in queer literature, Sylvia Beach's Shakespeare and Company, Audre Lorde's essays on survival. Patrons lingered, stories shared like communal fires. At home, fractures mended into facets. Date nights where June's sketches captured Evelyn's laugh lines. Mornings where Evelyn braided Harper's hair with tales of warrior women. Willow crawled now, exploring with determination, her murmur a faint hum monitored but not feared. Yet the deepest cleaving came unbidden, in a letter from Lila's sister. Unopened for months, tucked in a drawer like Pandora's box. Evelyn slit the envelope one quiet noon, words spilling. Lila's unpublished poems gifted now, themes of love as light-piercing dark. To Eve who taught me flight. The dedication pierced, tears blurring ink. She shared it with June that night, verses read aloud by candlelight, Willow dozing nearby. She's here, Evelyn whispered, wonder threading grief. In the words, in us. June nodded, tracing the page. A meeting, not a mourning. In that convergence, understanding dawned. Wounds as wombs, birthing not just pain but profound connection. Forgiveness flowed freer, self to self, past to present. a river carving canyons to canyons of grace. Summer's zenith brought a heat wave uncharacteristic for Portland, the air thick as molasses, wilting the window boxes and turning the Willamette to a sluggish mirror. Evelyn thrived in the languor at first. Lazy afternoons with Willow on quilts in the shade, Harper's splash fights in the kiddie pool, June's iced tea sweating on porch rails. Their life, once a tapestry of tentative threads, seemed woven sturdy now, colors vibrant against the green backdrop of the city. But beneath the idle, Fisher's spiderwebbed unseen. Evelyn's promotion at the library, to head archivist, overseeing digitization projects, piled hours like cordwood, her evenings lost to spreadsheets and scans. June's freelance surged too. Commissions from East Coast galleries demanding late nights at the drafting table, her eyes ringed with fatigue. The children, sensing the shift, amplified. Harper's school anxieties manifesting in bedtime pleas, Willow's teething a symphony of wails that pierced the humid dark. The first crack appeared innocuous. A forgotten pickup from preschool, Evelyn delayed by a donor meeting, June stretched thin by a deadline. Harper waited tear-streaked on the curb, backpack sagging like defeat, her small frame a rebuke. "You promised," she accused when Evelyn arrived, breathless apologies falling on deaf ears. Guilt lodged in Evelyn's chest like a stone, unyielding. That night, over cooling stir-fry, tension hummed. June, forked midway to mouth, sighed. "We're drifting, Eve. Like boats untethered." Evelyn bristled, defenses rising swift. "I'm building security for all of us. You think I want the grind?" June's eyes flashed Carolina fire. "I think you forget we're a fleet, not solo sails." Words escalated, barbs traded over vegetable crunch. Evelyn's absorption as neglect, June's independence as isolation. Willow fussed in high chair. Harper retreated to her room, door clicking shut like judgment. They slept back to back, sheets a chasm, the fans were mocking their silence. Dawn brought regret's bitter brew, but pride held tongues tied. Days limped on, perfunctory kisses at departures, texts clipped as code. Evelyn buried in work, cataloging queer histories, letters from 1920s speakeasies, photographs of Stonewall marchers, irony stinging, these tales of solidarity amid her own rift. A week in, fracture deepened. June's gallery show in Seattle loomed. A weekend away, and Evelyn volunteered for solo parent duty, a bid for redemption. But the nights unspooled chaotic. Willow's fever spiking, Harper's nightmare rousing all. Evelyn juggling thermometer and teddy bears till 3 a.m., her body a battlefield of bone-deep ache. June returned sun-kissed, arms laden with takeout from Pike Place, her absence a void now filled with awkward thaw. "Missed you," she murmured, pulling Evelyn into hug, but the embrace felt scripted, muscles tense. Over salmon and stories of the show, critics praising June's raw vulnerability in line. Evelyn cracked. "I held the fort, but it crumbled. I'm drowning, June. In us, in me." June set fork down, face paling. "Then why pull away? We could have talked." "Because talking feels like failing." Evelyn's voice broke, confessions cascading. The fear that success meant sacrifice, that love demanded erasure of self. "Lila and I burned out on that, giving till gone." June recoiled as if slapped. "So I'm her echo?" Another flame to flicker out. Hurt laced her words, sharp as thistle. The argument reignited, fiercer. Accusations of projection, defenses of distance. Harper, peeking from hall, whimpered and Willow's cry joined chorus. Evelyn stormed out, keys jangling, driving aimless through twilight streets. Past food trucks shuddering, bridges glowing neon. She parked at Tom McCall waterfront, river lapping black as ink, and wept into steering wheel, sobs racking like waves on pilings. What yield led to this wreck? The bus seat mocked from memory, kindness curdled to chaos. Hours later, home loomed dark save porch lights beacon. June waited on steps, face streaked, Harper asleep inside. "Don't go," she said simply, voice threadbare. Evelyn collapsed beside her, words failing, just hands clasped in wet grass. Dawn crept, dew beating lashes, and they entered renewed but raw, children stirring to mediated peace. Yet the break widened insidious. Work became escape. Evelyn volunteering for out-of-town conferences, June accepting remote gigs that blurred boundaries. Date nights devolved to duty. Candlelit dinners interrupted by calls, walks cut short by schedules. Intimacy withered to glances, touches fleeting as fireflies. Harper bore the brunt, her once bright drawings darkening to storms, school reports noting withdrawal. "Are you and Mama fighting clouds?" she asked one night, crayon grip tight. Evelyn's heart splintered. "Just weather, sweet. Storms pass." But Willow's milestone, a first step wobbly toward June. Evelyn missed, buried in basement files. The video June sent later, timestamp joy, landed like accusation. Guilt fermented to resentment. "Why must I choose?" The shatter came mid-autumn, leaves aflame as tempers. June's mother visited from Asheville, Lydia, a widow withdrawal like honey over gravel, eyes keen as hawks. She arrived bearing pies and probing questions, sensing the rift like bloodhound. Over coffee in the garden as children played, Lydia cornered Evelyn. "My girl's wilting, child. What's eating your Eden?" Evelyn flushed, defenses crumbling. "I'm trying. Trying ain't tending." Lydia's words landed firm, loving lash. That night, as rain lashed windows, June confronted Lydia's echo in her plea. "We need more than motions, Eve, or this family's fable ends." Words flew like shrapnel. Evelyn's grief as anchor dragging them down, June's ambition as abandonment. "You gave me a seat, not a sentence." Evelyn hurled regret instant as recoil. June paled, hand to mouth. "And I gave you my heart, not a hostage." She retreated to studio, door locked, sobs muffled through walls. Evelyn fled again, this time to the gorge, driving winding roads till Multnoma's veil shimmered, parking to hike trails slick with fall. Branches whipped, heart pounded until she collapsed on mossy log. Vista sprawling indifferent below. Broken, she thought, pieces jagged. The woman who yielded, the lover who lost, the almost mother fraying at seams. Night fell starless, phone buzzing, June's texts. "Come home. Please." Evelyn returned at midnight, house hushed. Lydia departed early with worried hug. June waited in kitchen, tea steaming, eyes red-rimmed. "I'm done pretending," June said, voice steel soft. "We heal or we part. For them." Evelyn sank to chair, soul bared. "I don't know how to mend without breaking more." "Then let's break open." June's hand extended, bridge over chasm. They talked till pale light seeped, fears flayed, hopes hashed, a pact forged in vulnerability. Therapy renewed, schedules sacred, self-care as sacrament. But the fracture lingered, a fault line humming. Days mended mechanically. Shared chores with stilted smiles, bedtime stories tag-teamed. Intimacy crept back tentative, brushed knees under table, forehead kisses at doors. Winter solstice neared, Yule log traditions beckoning. They decorated as family. Harper stringing cranberries, Willow gnawing pine boughs, but Evelyn's cheer felt forced, mask cracking in quiet moments. One eve, alone in attic, she unearthed Lila's box. Letters, lockets, the weight of worlds unlived. Sobs shook her, grief's gale unabated. June found her there, amid dust motes dancing lamplight. "Let me in," she whispered, arms enveloping. Evelyn did, pouring tales of first loves, last breaths, the void that echoed still. "You're not betraying her," June soothed, rocking gentle. "You're honoring by living full." In that attic airy, understanding flickered. Breaks as breath, space for growth. They descended renewed, tree twinkling, children abed. Bed that night held healing. Bodies aligning slow, touches mapping scars to stars. Love's language relearned in whispers and warmth. Spring's heralds followed. Bulbs piercing soil, a sign of persistence. Therapy bore fruit, tools for tension, rituals for reconnection. Evelyn delegated at work, reclaiming evenings for family forays. Berry picking in Hood River, where stains marked merry messes. Yet true thaw demanded deeper dive. A weekend retreat, lesbian wellness circle in the Cascades. June proposed, Evelyn agreed wary. Amid firs and falls, women circled fires, sharing shards. Lost loves, reclaimed selves. Evelyn spoke of the bus, the yield that birthed bounty and burden. "I gave a seat, gained a world, but fear of losing it shatters me still." Echoes rippled. Nods, tears, hands held. June's story followed. Motherhood's maze, love's leap. Night under stars, they wandered woods, bioluminescence fungi glowing like inner lights. "We're luminous too," June said, kiss soft as moss. Homecoming brought bloom. Harper's confidence cresting in school play. Willow's words, "Eve up. A crown." Their garden flourished, weeds pulled in tandem, harvest shared in salads and songs. By summer's turn the break had transmuted, stronger at stress points, like kintsugi gold-veined porcelain. Evelyn's journal chronicled, from shatter to shine, love the glue. The harvest moon hung low over Portland like a lantern swung by unseen hands, casting the Alberta street fair in amber glow. Evelyn and June wandered the booths hand in hand, Willow strapped to Evelyn's chest in a sling of soft linen, her tiny fists kneading like dough, Harper darting ahead with a fistful of tickets for rides and treats. The air thrummed with fiddle strings and friar sizzle, a tapestry of community woven from strangers' smiles. It had been months since the Shatter's echo faded, their bond reforged in fires of honesty, yet Evelyn still marveled at the ease of it now, the way June's thumb traced circles on her wrist, a silent morse of here whole. They paused at a stall draped in quilts, each patch a story stitched. Wild geese in flight, rivers meandering blue. The vendor, a wiry woman with silver braids and eyes like polished agate, nodded greeting. These ain't just covers, she drawled, southern lilt echoing June's roots. They're maps where you've been, where you're bound. June fingered a square of indigo stars. Reminds me of Asheville nights, Mama's needle flying by firelight. Evelyn smiled, the vendor's words resonating. Their own map had detoured through tempests, but here they stood, charting forward. Harper tugged at skirts, cotton candy tufting her lips pink. Can we ride the carousel, please? The wooden horses whirled under strings of bulbs, Harper mounting a palomino with whoop, June lifting Willow to a gentle swan. Evelyn watched from rail, heart swelling at the tableau. Daughters aglow, wife wind-tousled, moon witness to miracles. This is the meeting, she thought, not just of souls but of shards made mosaic. As music swelled, a figure approached hesitant, tall with cropped dark hair and a jacket patched like the quilts, carrying a ukulele slung like talisman. Evelyn Harper? The voice was warm gravel, familiar yet foggy. Evelyn turned, recognition dawning slow as tide. Riley? Riley Voss, from the archive conference last spring. Riley grinned, teeth flashing white. Guilty. You gave that talk on queer ephemera, blew my mind. Been meaning to connect, but life, you know. Riley was a folklorist from Olympia, 38, with laugh lines etched from field work in Appalachia and the Olympics, her presence a breeze off salt marshes, easy, earthy. They had bonded briefly over bad coffee at the event, swapping tales of dusty attics and lost languages, but work's whirl had scattered follow-up. June dismounted the swan, Willow gurgling, and introductions flowed like fairground cider. Join the spin, June offered, inclusive spark in eye. Riley hesitated, then shrugged. Why not? Been chasing stories solo too long. The carousel turned, laughter layering with calliope, and in that circle connections sparked. Riley's research on lesbian oral histories mirroring Evelyn's archival passions, June's designs complementing tales of pattern and myth. Harper dubbed her ukulele aunt post-ride, demanding tunes, and Riley obliged with a jig that had Willow bouncing, toes to melody. They migrated to a picnic blanket under oaks, sharing falafel wraps and fire-roasted corn, stars pricking canopy above. Conversation meandered rivers. Riley's recent grant for recording elders in queer enclaves, the ache of stories silenced by time. June's latest series inspired by mountain lore, canvases alive with ridge and reverie. Evelyn's exhibit on Portland's hidden dike bars, neon ghosts and grayscale. As night deepened, Harper yawned against Riley's shoulder, Willow nursing drowsy, and Riley shared her own yield. A decade ago, giving up a 10-year track for the road, chasing voices over stability. Lost a partner to it, she admitted, gaze on embers of a nearby bonfire. She needed roots, I needed Rome. Broke us both. Evelyn nodded, the echo of her shatter with June a bridge. We rebuild from breaks. Sometimes stronger. June squeezed her knee. Always, if willing. Riley lingered post-fair, walking them to car. Ukulele strums fading into night. Coffee soon? Swap resources, your archives, my tapes. Deal, Evelyn said, numbers exchanged, a thread spun fresh. The meeting rippled outward. Next week, Riley appeared at the library, arms full of cassettes labeled in faded Sharpie, interviews with women who loved in logging camps, their whispers preserved on analog waves. Evelyn cleared a table in the listening room, headphones shared, voices crackling to life. Tales of stolen kisses under evergreens, resilience forged in isolation. June joined evenings, her sketches capturing essences. Riley's profile sharp as axe, Evelyn's hands cradling real like relic. Harper begged for anti-stories. Willow cooing to Riley's lullabies, the house expanding to include this new orbit. A group hike coalesced. Eagle Creek Trail, autumn leaves crunching underfoot. Willow and backpack carrier. Harper scampering ahead with Riley's map. Waterfalls thundered, mist veiling faces, and over lunch by Punchbowl Falls. Sandwiches and stories, bonds deepened. Riley spoke of her mending. Therapy in the woods, letters to lost love released in rivers. Grief's a companion, not captor, she said, tossing pebble to pool, ripples radiating. Evelyn absorbed, her own healing mirrored. You've given us your seat, in our circle. Riley chuckled. Just passing the tune. Winter wove them tighter. Solstice sing-along at Evelyn's, Riley's uke leading carols queer-coded. Lydia visiting from Asheville with fiddle in tow. Jams filled rooms, fiddle weeping, uke plucking joy, June's voice harmonizing low. Children danced, Willow's first holiday steps a wonder. Harper's gift to Riley a drawing of story hunters. But meeting's gift was reciprocity. When June's show in San Francisco loomed, Riley stepped in childcare sage, her tales keeping Harper wrapped, Willow soothed by finger-plucked ditties. Evelyn, freed for the trip, watched June unveil canvases of fractured light, pride blooming fierce. Return brought revelation. Riley confided over wine firelit. You too. Your lighthouse for me. Remind a wanderer home's portable. June raised glass. To meetings that mend. Spring bloomed collaborations. Joint workshop at the library. Riley's oral histories paired with Evelyn's artifacts. June illustrating broadsides. Attendees swelled. Elders sharing sepia secrets. Youth hungry for lineage. Harper assisted, passing mics like scepter, Willow gurgling applause. A crisis tested. Riley's grant faltered, funding cut like careless snip. Doubt shadowed her, uke silent. Evelyn rallied, crowdfunding page with June's promo art. Library space for benefit concert. Night of, venue packed. Fiddles from Lydia, voices rising, funds flowing. Riley on stage strummed tear-streaked thanks. To family found in fairground glances. Summer solstice circled back, bonfire on beach. Driftwood pyre waves chanting. Riley arrived with new love budding. A botanist named Sage, quiet as fern, their hands linked shy. Introductions warmed, circle widening. As flames leaped, Evelyn reflected. The bus seats yield lead here, to Riley's gravel song, to circles unbroken. Harper roasted marshmallows, Willow clapped sparks. June leaned head on shoulder. Our map grows, she murmured. Evelyn kissed crown. And we're the compass. Riley across fire, raised bottle. To encounters that echo eternal. Stars wheeled, seaside approval, the meeting not endpoint but endless unfold. The first snow of the season dusted the Cascades like confectioner's sugar, but in Portland's cradle, understanding arrived not with flurry but slow seep, like meltwater carving stone. Evelyn woke one December dawn to Willow's cough. Rasping, insistent, pulling her from dreams of archival vaults to the nursery's blue hush. June stirred beside, hand seeking hers in dark. I've got her, Evelyn whispered, slipping to rocker, Willow's heat radiating through sleeper, tiny chest laboring. Fever climbed, pediatrician visits blurred into blur. Antibiotics prescribed, monitors beeping like hesitant heartbeats. Harper hovered anxious, drawing get well cards with crayons bold as wishes. Riley arrived unbidden, soup steaming from Olympia pot, her presence a pillar. Breathe Eve, we've got the watch. Night stretched, Evelyn cradling Willow through delirium, June tag teaming with compresses cool as river stones. In those vigils confessions surfaced. Evelyn's whisper of Lila's sickbed, the helplessness that haunted. June's admission of childhood fevers untended. Her father's absence a void filled with fear. We understand now, June said, dawn gilding her fatigue-lined face. How fragility forges us. Willow mended, color returning like rose to cheek, but the ordeal etched empathy deeper. They instituted vigil nights. Weekly shares by fire, no judgments, just ears open as fields. Evelyn spoke of the bus day's impulse, kindness born of her own hidden fracture. June unpacked the terror of need, her yield to strangers a survival hymn. Forgiveness flowed from fathoms, Evelyn penning unsent letters to Lila, not blame but benediction. You taught me yield, now I forgive the leaving, embracing the lesson. Burned in garden, ashes to wind, release rippled. Riley's circle amplified. Potlucks where stories swapped like recipes. Sage's botany tales of resilient flora. Lydia's fiddle-accompanied reckonings with widowhood. One eve over gumbo thick with okra, Riley posed. What's the hardest pardon? Evelyn paused, spoon midway. Myself for surviving when she didn't. June's hand covered hers. We all carry that. But grace grows in groves. Spring's thaw brought bloom. Willow's first full sentences. Love you, Eve. A bomb. Harper's school play, her role as storyteller tree. Evelyn in front row, tears proud. But understanding demanded dive. Couples retreat in wine country. Willamette Valley vines twisting like veins. Amid chardonnays and chats, facilitators probed. What unmet needs echo old pains? Evelyn traced to Lila's illness, the role of caretaker eclipsing self. June to X's flight, fear of abandonment. Exercises unfolded, mirrored gratitudes, walks where words withheld till sunset. By fire pit under star-pricked vault, Evelyn forgave June's pre-shatter distance. I see now your strength in silence. June wept. And I your grief's grip, not cage but cocoon. Return infused days. Date at the observatory, planetarium stars swirling. Hands linked in cosmic dance. Home they framed Willow's handprint beside Harper's, gallery of graces. Summer solstice gathering swelled. Neighbors joining Riley's kin, bonfire tales turning to truths. Lydia shared of forgiving her husband's wanderlust. Released him to road, found me in roots. Evelyn followed, voice steady. Forgave the void Lila left, not by filling but flowing through. Laughter mingled tears, uke strumming soft underscore. Understanding crested. Not erasure but embrace, pains as teacher's kin. Fall's equinox tested. Evelyn's exhibit launch, queer histories unveiled. But anxiety gnawed crowd's judgment, Lila's shadow in spotlights. June prepped her. You're the archivist of alive stories, yours included. Opening night, gallery hummed. Patrons tracing timelines, Riley emceeing with wit. Children in corner with crayons. A critic approached, voice honeyed. Your curation breathes, lost to legacy. Evelyn, heart-hammering, replied. Forgiveness lets it. Post-reception, drive home wound through fog-laced hills. June driving, Evelyn passenger to peace. Proud, June said simply. Winter's wane whispered closure. Anniversary trip to Oregon coast. Cabin perched on cliffs. Waves crashing below like applause. Babysitters Riley and Sage hosted. Their home a haven of herbs and harmonies. Alone they hiked Headwall Creek. Ferns unfurling tender, air salt-laced. At Overlook Sea vast as forgiveness, Evelyn voiced the unspoken. I forgive the shatter, ours mine. It led to luminous. June turned, wind-whipping curls. And I, the fears that fueled it. We're forged, not flawless. Picnic on bluff. Cheeses, figs, wine ruby as rubies. Touches tender, fingers feeding fruit, lips brushing brine. Night in cabin, fire roaring, bodies narrative of now. Slow explorations, whispers weaving vows renewed. Dawn brought seals barking on rocks, a chorus of continuance. Understand this, Evelyn murmured, June's head pillowed on breast. Love's the ultimate pardon. Return to Portland's pulse. Willow toddling to hugs, Harper's tales of anti-adventures. Life layered richer. Understanding is undercurrent, forgiveness the flow. By spring's riot they hosted Yield Circle. Monthly for queer families, Riley co-leading, spaces for shares. Evelyn facilitated first. From bus seats to heart seats, what have we pardoned? Stories spilled. Adoptions navigated, exes honored, selves reclaimed. June illustrated. Portraits capturing catharsis. Summer sealed. Family camp in Tillamook. Tents pitched by surf, Riley's uke bonfire side. Harper led Esmeralda's, Willow chased waves, Evelyn and June watched, hands entwined. One dusk as sun dipped crimson, Evelyn reflected. The meeting of that rainy bus, now symphony of souls understood, forgiven forever. The summer solstice sun crested Mount Hood like a crown of fire, bathing the Hood River Valley in gold that turned orchards to emerald seas. Evelyn stood at the edge of their rented farmhouse porch, coffee steaming in mug, watching June chase Harper through dew-kissed grass, Willow balanced on hip, laughter rising like lark song. It was their first full family vacation untethered by work's leash. A week of rebirth deliberate as dawn, where the soil of their souls long tilled finally fruited. Rebirth had not crashed in like coastal breakers but unfolded petal by petal, through the compost of shatter and forgiveness. Evelyn felt it in small sacraments. The way her archive talks now wove personal threads, vulnerability not vice but virtue. How June's canvases burst with bioluminescent blooms, shadows not erased but essential. The children's unbridled trust, Harper's hugs fierce as vines, Willow's babbles a babble of belonging. The farmhouse with its wraparound porch and wildflower meadows was chosen for its echo of beginnings. June's Carolina farm girl dreams, Evelyn's Seattle garden ghosts. They arrived at dusk, car bursting with coolers and kites, unloading to the scent of lavender and earth. Harper claimed the swing, Willow the rocker, and as stars pricked twilight, Riley and Sage rolled up, truck bed laden with campfire gear. Their presence the spice in family stew. First dawn they foraged blackberries along the creek, thorns snagging like old regrets, but yields sweet as vindication. Jars filled, stained fingers testament to tending. Lunch sprawled on quilts. Pie baked from harvest, crust flaky as folktales. Afternoon brought kite flying on hillocks, Harper's dragon soaring defiant, Willow clapping gusts, June's whoops harmonizing wind. Evelyn, anchoring string, felt renewal's rush. Body alive in breeze, heart unburdened. This is resurrection, she thought, flesh of joy from bone of ache. Evenings ritualized. Fire pit circles, Riley's uke summoning spirits. Songs of women wanderers, voices blending in rounds. Lydia joined midway, fiddle case in tow. Her arrival a bridge from past to present. Over stew simmered slow, stories circled. Riley's field triumph, new recordings of coastal dikes. Sage's greenhouse grants, greens grown from grit. One night as embers glowed, Evelyn shared Rebirth's blueprint. The bus was seed, storms watered, now harvest. Nods rippled, Harper piping. I'm the flower. Laughter flowered, tears pearled. Mornings wandered. Farmers' market halls of peaches fuzz soft, cheese wheels veined blue. Afternoons canoed the river, paddles dipping syncopated, Willow life-jacketed in bow, Harper trailing fingers in current. June and Evelyn tag team steers, eyes meeting over water, acquiescent alive. A storm midweek tested temper, thunder rumbling orchards, rain sheeting like silver. Power flickered, children huddled, but Riley spun yarns of Appalachian gully washers. Sage brewed tea by lantern. In loft bed, Evelyn and June lay listening downpour, hands exploring rediscovered contours, touches Rebirth's tongue tasting salt and sweet. Post-storm clarity. Rainbows arching valleys, air washed keen. They hiked Rowena crest, wildflowers rioting, lupin purple as passion, paintbrush red as resolve. At crest, vista vast, Evelyn scattered wildflower seeds from pocket. Lila's favorite mix, a rebirth right. Grow wild, she whispered to wind, June's arm anchor. Return to Portland pulsed renewed. Evelyn's promotion cemented but boundaries blessed. Home by 5, shelves shared with assistants. June's gallery solo. Yields, sold out, themes of growth from given. Children thrived. Harper's writing club poems published in school zine. Willow's steps sure as sunrise. Fall wove webs wider. Community garden plot claimed. Hands in soil with neighbors. Queer dads, single moms, elders with canes and canticles. Harvest feasts followed, tables groaning gratitude. Winter's hush harbored heights. Holiday lights strung neighborhood wide. Carols queered with Riley's twist. Evelyn curated library winter window. Rebirths, artifacts of renewal. From suffrage sashes to AIDS quilt panels. Opening drew crowds, toasts to tomorrows. One eve, snow blanketing Alberta. Evelyn journaled by window. Reborn not blank but branched, roots deep, reaches wide. Spring surge sealed. Willow's first birthday, park picnic under cherry blizzard. Cake smeared faces, balloons bobbed like dreams. Harper gifted storybook of Mama Eve's bus adventure. Pages illustrated earnest. Summer circled solstice again, but now annual farmhouse tradition, circle grown with new faces. Sage's sister, a poet. Library mentee, young archivist hungry. Bonfire that year, Evelyn emceed. Share your rebirth. Voices rose. Losses transmuted, loves reclaimed. June's turn. From need to nest, thanks to a seat and a soul. Evelyn's followed. Yielded space, gained universe, reborn in you all. Uke strummed finale, stars approving. Bed that night, farmhouse creaking lullaby, Evelyn to June. This life our phoenix. June's kiss dawn warm. Feathers for all flights. Years layered rebirth not event but evolution. Children's schooling, careers cresting, circle constant. Evelyn's book proposal accepted. Seats of the Soul. Queer Yields in American Archive. Preface dedicating Lila, June daughters. At launch packed house Harper read excerpt Willow now 4 past copies. Riley toasted. To endless encores. Evelyn podium poised closed. Rebirth is the bus that never stops. Next seat yours. Audience rose applause waves June's eyes across room. Ours forever. The autumn equinox sun slanted low through the kitchen window, gilding the breakfast table where maple syrup pooled like liquid gold, and Evelyn paused in pouring juice, struck by the scene's serenity. Harper now 10 nose in novel braids grown to cascade. Willow 7 sketching sunflowers with tongue-tip concentration. June across curls silver-threaded, smile crinkling eyes as she buttered toast. 15 years since the bus's hiss, the yield that sparked this constellation, and light now bathed all warm unwavering, the kind that lingers post-storm painting shadows soft. Light's arrival had been gradual, a dawn not sudden blaze but incremental glow, each day adding lumens to their lantern. The farmhouse solstices had become legend, annual pilgrimages where circles widened, stories stacked like cordwood. This year's loomed invitations sent to Riley's expanding kin. Sage's Botanist Collective, Lydia's Fiddle Circle, library legacies mentored. But light shone daily now in routines radiant. School drop-offs with carpool carols, dinner debates on dreams, bedtime biblios where voices layered like lasagna. Evelyn's archive evolved to center, directing a queer history consortium, traveling coast collecting voices, her book a beacon sighted in syllabi. Yet home anchored. Evenings in garden now orchard small, apples ripening red as remembrances. June's studio adjoined, canvases commissioned worldwide, but heart in local murals, Portland walls blooming with yields, women linking hands across divides. Children carried the light innate. Harper's Advocacy Club, penning essays on chosen family. Willow's soccer team goalie fierce as her questions on stars. They knew Lila's story, not specter but sparkle photo on mantle, tales told tender at holidays. One crisp October morn as leaves orchestrated descent, Evelyn received the call. Lila's sister, now great-aunt to nieces, inviting to Seattle unveiling. A plaque in Madrona Grove, memorial to artists lost, Lila's name etched bronze. She'd want you there, voice crackled kind. Evelyn shared over lunch, June's fork pausing. Go. Light her legacy. Road north wound familiar. I-5 hugging evergreens, memories misting windows. Arrival at Grove, dusk draped, kin gathered, sisters, nieces, fellow painters. Plaque gleamed understated. Lila Voss, 1985 to 2019. Painter of possible dawns. Words Evelyn chose years back, now manifest. Ceremony hushed. Poems recited, brushes dipped in paint for tree trunk tributes. Evelyn spoke last, voice steady as sound. Lila taught yield to light, to loss, to love reborn. Her dawn breaks in us still. Hugs exchanged, tears salt shared. Drive home under moon full as forgiveness. June waited porch lit, arms open. How was the light? Bright as beginning. They walked garden, stars confetti overhead. Evelyn tracing constellations. She'd love our girls fierce free. June nodded. She does, from her corner of cosmos. Winter's weave brought wonders. Holiday lights labyrinth in Laurelhist, family threading paths, hot cocoa mugs steaming spells. Riley's concert, uke orchestra of queer anthems, sold out, Evelyn emceeing intro. Light from lanes less traveled. New Year's Eve circle intimate. Resolutions not lists but lanterns lit, wishes whisper to flames. Harper's. More adventures. Willow's. Soccer stars. June's. Deeper dives in paint. Evelyn's. Sustain this shine. Spring symphony swelled. Harper's bat mitzvah chosen right, blending Carolina Judaism with Portland pagan. Synagogue alive with fiddles friends. Willow's science fair volcano erupting acclaim. Evelyn's consortium grant, funding oral history pods nationwide. Summer solstice crested, farmhouse thrumming. Tents pitched, tables groaning potluck. Gumbo, galettes, greens. Circle vast now, 50 souls fire central. Riley opened. Lights chain from yields to yearns. Stories spiraled. Elders escapes from conversion camps, Youth's first prides, parents' pardons of pasts. Evelyn's turn, Willow on lap. 15 years ago, a seat given birth this blaze. Light is an absence of dark, it's alchemy. June followed, canvas unveiled, group portrait, faces firelit, title lantern kin. Applause thundered, hugs cascaded. Night deepened, dances devolved to drifts. Couples swaying, children stargazing. Evelyn and June slipped to porch swing. Swing creaking lullaby, daughters dozing in arms of aunts. This light, Evelyn murmured, eternal as equinox. June's head nestled. Hours to pass like torch in twilight. Years flowed luminous. Harper to college, majoring folklore, interning Riley's projects. Willow's art echoing June's, murals community coded. Grandchildren came eventual. Adopted by daughters, playdates in garden grown grand. Evelyn retired soft, archive emerita. Consulting coasts, book second. Lights ledger, queer illuminations. Launches legend, light shared. One final solstice, silver-haired. Evelyn sat fire edge, June beside, circle vast as lifetimes. To the woman on the bus, she toasted, who yielded and lit worlds. Cheers rose, flames leaped, light not end but endless, warm, welcoming the dawn that dwells. In quiet after, homeward bound, Evelyn to June. Our story, ever after light. June's kiss enduring and shining on.